Hey everybody, JRB here with another McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse video review for you. Today, we've got Superboy-Prime from Infinite Crisis. So I picked this up at Target, which was kind of surprising. Usually my Target waits a little bit before it brings out the new figures, but I guess we all get lucky sometimes. This is a figure that you can add to the villains shelf of your DC Multiverse collection, so you can put them right up next to the other not so great Superman in your collection. All right, so this is one of the first figures that are a part of this new side-eyed phenomenon that McFarlane Toys is diving into head first. So we'll see how that, works out when we check out the review, but he is different. That much is clear. So let's open this up, take a closer look at him. Now, if you're like me, when you first saw Superboy-Prime, you probably thought to yourself, who the heck is this guy? It's one of those characters that you might not know too much about unless you follow the comic books. But thankfully, that's one thing that these cards are good for, telling you a little bit of backstory. So here goes. So this is an alternate reality version of Superman, Superboy-Prime. He comes from an Earth where the DC superheroes and supervillains were fictional characters until the day his powers were activated and he becomes the world's sole superhuman. I think it was Halley's Comet that flew overhead and activated his powers. But after his planet was destroyed in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, he became unhinged over time and eventually clashed with the superheroes of the main DC universe in the Infinite Crisis event. Ultimately, Superboy-Prime was defeated and imprisoned in the Source Wall, the barrier that surrounds the universe, only to break free when it was destroyed years later. However, when another crisis threatened all of reality, Superboy-Prime proved himself a hero once again and helped save the DC multiverse. So there's a whole lot going on with this character, and through different storylines, and just comic books can be so confusing. But at the end of this card, they're saying that, hey, he was a hero once again, and stuff that I read always made him seem like he was kind of a jerk ever since he turned. But yeah, anyway, we're going to regard this Superboy-Prime as a villain, since that seems to be what he was, at least for most of his time in the DC multiverse. So this is a interesting figure. So from what I understand, this armor is based on a villain called the Anti-Monitor. And all these yellow tubes and stuff, it gives him a constant flow of yellow solar energy, which tops off his power levels to insane amounts. So much so that I think he can kick the Superman that we all know and love, but all over the galaxy and back again. I mean, this guy is super strong. He's young. He's only like 19 or something years old. And he is definitely one of, if not the strongest Superman that we've definitely seen. And the fact that he's also crazy also gives him that edge. That little bit of crazy tends to give folks a whole lot of extra strength. All right, so that's pretty much a backstory. All right, so for the figure itself, he comes with this flight stand like most of Supermen in DC Multiverse tend to come with. So we definitely don't have a shortage of flight stands from McFarlane, and it's the same kind of flight stand that we are used to. His frame is not very bulky, so it's pretty easy just to take those little clamps and wrap it around his waist, and he is fitted in there pretty good, and that is all good. All right, so his cape is another thing that I thought was kind of cool. You can kind of see the profile is swooping off to one side. It looks like it's floating in the air. That's all great. But I like the way that the cape feels. It's still kind of that rubbery material that we are used to. You kind of know how it feels. But for some reason, this one feels less rigid than some of the other capes that we get. And it kind of feels like a fruit roll-up. And it kind of makes me want to chew on it. I'm not going to, but that's just kind of the feeling that I get from it. It's kind of soft and it's just more flexible. I don't know, it's something about it. I like it. It's very nice to touch. The rest of his costume is pretty basic. There's not any additional detail put into the silver parts of his armor. It's just straight up gray. If you are good at painting and customizing it, you can probably weather it a little bit so it could stand out a little bit more, because it does have all these studs that you can kind of see in it. And then the rest is just kind of molded plastic of blue and the Superman symbol on his chest, which, by the way, this crazy guy, he carved this into his chest. I think that might be a little bit too graphic for a McFarlane Toys figure, but he actually did that. So that's another way for you to know he's freaking crazy. But this is a very nicely done Superman symbol. Very well painted, you know, and it just looks like it just came out of the mold pretty darn perfect. And I like that. I think that these symbols that's on the chest of these figures, I always thought that it was really important to get those done accurately and to get them done neatly, because it's what defines them. So McFarlane, great job with that. Now, as far as these tubes go, they are kind of glued into the sockets, but on his left arm, as I was taking him out the package, this part came undone. And then I tried to see if I can just force it back into the hole, but unfortunately, it's not like a peg where you can just plug it in and then it stays. It's kind of glued in there. So if yours comes undone, you might have to take a little dab of crazy glue and just kind of stick it in there, hold it there for a little bit in order to get it to stay. It's unfortunate that this came out, but this is the only tube that's come out for me so far. The ones on his shoulders are not the flexible type. They are molded in, so you don't have to worry about these. It's just the ones that connect his arms, and then the ones at the waist and the ones at the feet, basically most of them, that you might have to keep an eye on just in case they want to come out of the socket. His face looks fine. He's a little bit more of a pale Superman, but the problem with this guy, and you know it's coming, side eyes. He's got those freaking side eyes that a lot of these DC Multiverse figures from McFarlane are coming out with in the future. I don't know why he does this. I'm thinking maybe it's because they got a certain idea for a certain pose, a certain look that they want to go for. And by forcing the eyes in a certain direction, in order to get a pose that kind of looks right, you have to fall in line with the eyes. And I don't like that. I think that the eyes should just stay straight ahead, because when you have this guy, his eyes is looking off to the right. You know, so if you turn his head all the way to the left, he's not looking over here. He's still kind of looking back this way. And that's not a good thing. So if you had a display on your shelf or something and you want to have one Superman about to face off against him and you kind of have him like this, then you have to rearrange the whole thing so that he can actually look at the person that you want him to look at. I really don't like these side eyes. I think most people don't like the side eyes, and it's really a big, it's a really big distraction, and it kind of makes me not want to buy figures that have those side eyes, because it just kind of ruins things. It looks weird. You know, for statues it's fine, but for action figures you have a lot more creativity at your disposal, and you want to be able to line everything up. Side eyes don't allow you to do that. But besides that, I think that this is it's a decent figure because it's unique, and it's the thing that McFarlane's good at, giving us figures that we otherwise would never really see. I'm going to take him off of this stand. All right, so we can see some articulation with this guy. So like I said, I was posing him around and that's what caused one of these to fall out, but he does have these cool, nice double jointed elbows, nice and flexible. Thing that I always like, see, look at that, came off. So I like that you can take advantage of those double jointed elbows and bring the arms across the chest like that. I really do like that. He's got double jointed knees, which is always good. Nice, sort of wide-ish flat feet, so he's not going to be difficult to stand up. He's got toe pivot as well. He's got some ankle pivot. He's got double jointed knees. And these tubes don't get in the way of the double jointed knee action. It just kind of sits right underneath the back of the knee. Figures are a little bit stiff, got to be careful. And there's no swivel at the boot. There's no boot cut or anything. There's no swivel at the knees, and the legs can go out pretty darn far. I mean, look at that. Superboy-Prime, yes you are, sir. He's super flexible in the legs like that. And then as far as the crunching action goes, you can get him back pretty far. Only thing is, when you do that, you see that gap right there underneath his belly button. So that gap becomes exposed if you go back too far. But if you bring him forward a little bit, you can't do it too much, not as much as you can going back, but you can get him to crunch forward a little bit. And then as far as his head goes, up kind of slightly. His back of his head is kind of blocked by the back of that armor there, but you can move the head down a pretty decent amount, and it's that nice little cut at the front of the armor that allows him to get that chin down without the armor obstructing it. But one obstruction that you do get with the armor is with the arms. If you want to lift the arms up all of the way, you can't really do it because this armor isn't flexible enough. So you're going to have a bit of an issue with that. So you can get his arm to go up about that much. Maybe that's as much as you would want to. I'm not too sure, but this is kind of getting in the way. But you can butterfly it back and forth, kind of like that. But other than that, yeah, I can already feel him getting kind of looser as I kind of work out those joints. But you know, all in all, I think that this is still a good figure because he is a unique variation of Superman, and I can definitely appreciate that. There's nothing really wrong with him as far as the way that he looks, and the articulation is still pretty good. I like the fruit roll-up feeling cape. Yeah, I mean, it's not amazing, but you know, it's still pretty good. I like it. I like it. The face is done pretty well. Like I said, he looks kind of like a paler Superman, but it's clean. The eyes are clean. The eyebrows are good. Everything's fine. You know, and I guess the moral of this is Superboy-Prime hanging out on Earth Prime, looking at this video review of me reviewing his figure, he would probably get angry because he would want to be the best Superman action figure. He would feel like he is the best. It feels like no one can touch him. But to me, I'm like, he's all right. I mean, not mad at him, but meh. And then he would, you know, promptly kill everyone. So that is it. Hopefully I can find some more newer releases from the DC Multiverse line. And if and when I do, I'll do some reviews on them so that you can know exactly how they are. That's it, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jeremy. Talk to you later.